The room is dark. Your eyes burn. 3 a.m. Your thumb swipes again. Another meaningless video. Your brain begs for sleep. Your eyelids feel like lead, but you do not close them. You keep scrolling. You look at the time. 3014 a.m. A wave of guilt washes over you. Your stomach tightens. You tell yourself you are lazy. You call yourself undisciplined. You think you lack self-control. Stop. You are completely wrong. This is not laziness. This is not a lack of discipline. This is a biological rebellion. This is your nervous system fighting for survival. By the end of this video, you will understand why this exhausting habit you absolutely hate is actually your brain desperately trying to save you. You spend 8 hours a day in a brightly lit office. You answer emails. You follow orders. You smile at people you barely tolerate. You suppress your natural instincts to survive in a corporate cage. Your prefrontal cortex is exhausted from playing by the rules. Your autonomy is entirely stripped away. You return home. You eat. You do chores. Suddenly, it is midnight. The world finally goes quiet. The demands stop. This is the exact moment your amygdala hijacks the system. It realizes you have not had a single second of absolute freedom today, so it forces your eyes open. It locks your thumb onto that glowing screen. Your body is physically paralyzing itself with blue light just to reclaim a fraction of control. Society calls this revenge bedtime procrastination. They label it a toxic modern habit. They tell you to just put the phone away, but they do not understand the ancient machinery operating inside your skull. You are not mindlessly watching videos because you have no willpower. Your nervous system is launching a desperate protest against a life that feels like captivity. It is clawing back its agency in the only safe environment left. The darkness of your bedroom, the soft glow of a smartphone. You are starving for freedom. Your brain is not broken. It is functioning exactly as evolution designed it to. It perceives the loss of autonomy as a literal threat to your existence. It chooses mental exhaustion over psychological death. You are running a 3 million-year-old survival software in a modern world that drains your soul. You are not a failure for scrolling until dawn. You are simply a primate trying to escape a cage. And this late-night rebellion is the only way your mind knows how to keep you alive. You wake up the next morning feeling entirely miserable. You stare at the ceiling and promise yourself you will never do it again. You download time management applications. You set strict screen time limits. You read productivity books that tell you to build better habits. But night after night, the exact same exhausting cycle repeats itself. This is exactly where every productivity guru has completely lied to you. They claim your inability to sleep is a behavioral flaw that needs to be fixed with rigorous discipline. They tell you to just leave the phone in another room, but they are completely ignoring the biological reality of your nervous system. To understand the invisible war happening inside your skull, we have to step into the laboratory and look at the raw chemistry of your exhaustion. When you sit at your desk and force yourself to focus on tedious tasks, you are actively burning through the limited glucose reserves in your prefrontal cortex. This is the highly evolved region responsible for logical thinking, impulse control, and emotional regulation. It is the rational CEO of your brain. By the time you finally clock out and go home, that CEO is entirely depleted. It has absolutely no energy left to enforce discipline. Meanwhile, your dopamine levels have completely flatlined. Throughout the entire day, you have been denied any meaningful neurochemical rewards. You have survived on a severe starvation diet of obligatory tasks and forced politeness. In 2018, behavioral neuroscientists at the University of Pennsylvania conducted functional MRI scans to observe how the human brain responds to prolonged cognitive suppression. The results were absolutely undeniable. A brain deprived of autonomous rewards does not just get tired, it becomes aggressively starved for dopamine. When midnight strikes, your prefrontal cortex effectively shuts down. It completely goes offline. This creates a massive power vacuum in your nervous system. Without the rational CEO to maintain strict order, a much older and more primal structure takes absolute control of your body. Your amygdala and your basal ganglia instantly hijack the system. They scan your neurochemical state and detect a critical famine of dopamine. To your primitive brain, a severe dopamine deficit is an absolute emergency. It registers as a biological threat to your immediate survival. It knows that if it does not secure a reward right now, your psychological integrity will begin to collapse. So it orchestrates a hostile takeover. It bypasses your exhausted logic and forces your thumb to open that digital application. Every single swipe delivers a rapid microdose of dopamine directly into your neural pathways. You are not scrolling because you lack a moral compass. You are scrolling because your nervous system is administering emergency CPR to a starving brain. The endless feed of short videos is essentially a synthetic IV drip of neurochemicals. It is artificially stabilizing your fragile mood after a grueling day of profound restriction. You look at the clock and feel a deep sense of silent shame. You think you are actively sabotaging your own rest? The truth is far more complex. Your brain is choosing psychological survival tonight over physical energy tomorrow. It is making a highly calculated biological trade-off. It is willingly sacrificing sleep to prevent a total emotional collapse. This is not a failure of your character. It is an evolutionary defense mechanism operating flawlessly. But this sudden chemical hijacking is only the surface layer. What your brain is actually calculating behind the glowing screen is far more magnificent. Why does it choose the dead of night to execute this rebellion? Step away from your suffocating bedroom and travel back 300,000 years into the brutal wilderness. In the ancestral savanna, the night was a theater of absolute terror. When the sun disappeared, the human visual advantage vanished, and the apex predators began their hunt. To survive this daily apocalypse, evolution engineered a hyper-vigilant neural profile within the tribe. Someone had to stay awake. Someone had to monitor the shifting shadows. Your ancestors were the elite night watchmen who sacrificed their own physical rest to scan the darkness for glowing predator eyes, ensuring the survival of the entire genetic line. That exact same ancient software is running flawlessly right now, but the environment has maliciously changed. Today, there are no saber-toothed tigers lurking outside your apartment door. But your traumatized amygdala does not know that. It only knows that your modern existence is fundamentally terrifying. You spend your days bombarded by an unnatural digital overload. Thousands of emails, artificial deadlines, and micro-expressions from corporate strangers overwhelm your sensory processing centers. You are forced to maintain absolute social smoothness, smiling and nodding when your primal instincts want to flee. Your nervous system is drowning in a continuous flood of low-grade cortisol. It constantly feels like a gazelle drinking from a watering hole surrounded by invisible lions. When midnight finally arrives and the world goes completely silent, Your brain does not perceive safety. It perceives a terrifying isolation. It interprets the quiet, dark room as a profound vulnerability. So, what does it do? It forcefully activates the ancient night watchman protocol. It commands you to stay alert. It demands that you scan the horizon for vital information. But instead of looking at rustling bushes, your thumb is frantically swiping through an infinite digital feed. Every single video you watch, every single comment you read, every single artificial light flash that hits your retina. These are not acts of modern laziness. This is your hyper-aroused visual cortex frantically foraging for data in the dark to ensure you are not caught off guard by an unseen predator. You are running a sophisticated threat simulation engine. The prefrontal cortex is completely short-circuited. The working memory is wiped clean of tomorrow's obligations. Your primitive biology has forcefully overridden your logical desire for sleep. It floods your system with adrenaline just to keep your eyes open. You think this endless scrolling is a toxic addiction destroying your potential? This is exactly where every self-help guru completely misses the mark. They view your behavior through the narrow lens of capitalist productivity. They measure your worth by how well you rest for tomorrow's labor. But evolution does not care about your morning meeting. Evolution only cares about keeping you alive through the night. Look at your physical posture as you lie in bed. Your neck is strained. Your breathing is shallow and rapid. Your muscles are subtly tensed, completely primed for a flight or fight response. You are physically mimicking the exact stance of a prehistoric hunter guarding the cave entrance. The blue light from your screen mimics the crackling fire, providing a synthetic sense of security in the terrifying void of the night. Your brain is desperately clinging to this digital firelight because it equates darkness with death. It is performing an absolute miracle of biological preservation. It is sacrificing the cellular repair of your body to protect the immediate integrity of your mind. The endless stream of internet content provides the perfect variable reward system to keep the night watchman awake. It is a brilliant, albeit exhausting, evolutionary hack. When you finally drop the phone on your face, it is not because you found the willpower to stop. It is because the primal alarm system has finally gathered enough artificial data to temporarily convince the amygdala that the perimeter is secure. Only then does it allow the vagus nerve to initiate a systemic shutdown. Your exhaustion is the heavy price of a successfully executed defense strategy. Why do you hate yourself for surviving? Stop punishing it. 300,000 years ago, this exact trait meant you lived while others perished. Today, it just means you are incredibly tired at work. But your body is not broken. Your mind is not undisciplined. You are simply a masterpiece of ancient engineering trapped in the wrong era. You blame yourself for your lack of sleep. You think you are lazy. You believe your lack of discipline is destroying your relationships, your health, and your career. You desperately try to fix yourself with meditation applications and productivity hacks, but nothing works, and here is why. You are fighting a war against your own biology, and biology always wins. Let us break down the devastating social and physical consequences of this silent rebellion and why society's advice is completely toxic to your nervous system. The modern world demands constant performance. It requires you to be permanently available, endlessly productive, and always pleasant. This environment is highly unnatural. It fundamentally violates the biological boundaries of the human animal. The friction between your evolutionary hardware and the demands of the modern world generates an unbearable amount of stress. Society labels your exhaustion as a personal failure. It tells you that successful people sleep 8 hours a day and wake up refreshed. It insists that if you are scrolling until 3 in the morning, you simply lack the willpower to succeed. This immense social pressure forces you into a state of chronic guilt. You begin to hide your habits. You lie about how much sleep you got. You pretend to be energetic when your body is screaming for rest. This constant performance, this relentless masking, drains even more energy from your already depleted prefrontal cortex. It becomes a vicious cycle of exhaustion and shame. When your nervous system is forced into this corner, the vagus nerve initiates an emergency shutdown protocol. This is the exact moment you experience complete social burnout. You abruptly cancel plans. You ignore text messages from friends. You isolate yourself in your room. Your friends might think you are selfish or unreliable. You might even agree with them. But the truth is entirely different. Your brain is forcefully severing social connections because it no longer has the metabolic resources to process them. It is shutting down non-essential functions to conserve energy for basic survival. Your sudden isolation is not an act of cruelty toward others. It is an act of extreme preservation for yourself. It is the blast doors coming down to protect the core. This is where we must dismantle the illusion of normalcy. The idea that a healthy person is always rested, always social, and always perfectly regulated is a dangerous myth. It is a fabricated standard designed to optimize you for a capitalist machine. Your body is not a machine. It is a fragile, ancient ecosystem. Your late-night scrolling and your sudden social withdrawals are not glitches. They are the friction that proves you are still human. They are the desperate cries of a nervous system that refuses to be completely subjugated. When you understand this, the guilt begins to dissolve. You are not a broken gear in a machine. You are a biological organism trying to survive in a profoundly abnormal environment. The sun will rise in a few hours. You will feel exhausted. You will likely judge yourself again. You must stop this violent internal cycle. Your late-night scrolling is not a sin. It is not a moral failure of discipline. It is a profound biological rescue mission. Your nervous system took the wheel. It protected you from total psychological collapse. It fed your starving brain with synthetic rewards. It gave you the autonomy the world stole. It kept your inner ecosystem from completely breaking. You are sitting in the dark right now. The blue light is reflecting in your tired eyes. You feel the heavy weight of tomorrow approaching. You think you are losing control of everything. You are actually witnessing an ancient defense mechanism. Your amygdala worked overtime to keep you safe. Your dopamine receptors begged for a tiny victory. Your brain chose survival over a perfect morning. It did exactly what it was designed to do. Evolution built this machinery over 3 million years. It kept your ancestors alive in the harsh wilderness. It keeps you intact in the rigid corporate machine. The true enemy is not your glowing smartphone screen. The true enemy is the toxic pressure of society. The true enemy is the way you punish yourself. You treat your own body like a broken machine. You verbally abuse your nervous system for its loyalty. This internal abuse is the real source of pain. You cannot reprogram a 3 million-year-old algorithm. You cannot delete the survival instincts of your ancestors. You cannot force your brain to be perfectly productive. But you have absolute power over your next reaction. You have the ultimate authority to grant yourself grace. You can choose to stop this internal psychological war. You can lower the weapons you point at yourself. Look at your tired hands holding that glowing device. Feel the shallow rhythm of your own breathing. Your body has fought a massive invisible battle today. It absorbed the stress of a highly unnatural world. It shielded your core identity from total emotional destruction. It deserves your deepest respect and profound gratitude. It does not deserve your harsh midnight criticism. The next time you find yourself awake at dawn, the next time your thumb swipes out of control, do not call yourself a lazy or undisciplined failure. Acknowledge the profound burden your nervous system just carried. Take a slow and deep breath in the dark. Put the digital screen down on the cold nightstand. Close your burning eyes with a sense of peace. Your ancient watchman has finally secured the perimeter. Your biology has successfully guided you through the night. The threat has passed. You are completely safe now. Forgive your loyal body.